Hello, welcome to Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today, we're reviewing the fantasy movie Tales from Earthsea. This is obviously for my fantasy month reviews. I forgot to mention that. This is directed by Goro Miyazaki. It's based off this book series that range from what was it, 1968 to 2001. There's like 5 books. It's by this author, Ursula K. L. Gwen or something like that. Yeah, sorry, it's right here. Ursula K. Le Guin. Huh. Yeah, this was apparently a passion project. They were, according to the behind the scenes for this movie. I have the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray says it's 2015, but online it says this movie came out in 2006, which that sounds right to me because I remember watching the trailer for this long ass time ago and thought, wow, this is gonna be like them trying to do another Princess Mononoke. Which my thoughts on that is I have a problem with Studio Ghibli. I am like a fan of their work, but my problem is that when I think a lot of people encounter this problem where they watch they listen to the best song of a band or they watch the best movie of a director and they go and check out their other stuff and they just don't enjoy it as much as that really great movie they first watched or that first work that's known as their best work. Like I had that when I was 8 years old, for my birthday, I got like Princess Mononoke as a kid, and it was my first anime I ever watched. I don't know if that's true. Actually, it wasn't the first anime I ever watched, but it's like the first anime I ever owned and that was on VHS. And I really enjoyed that movie. Is this movie as good as Princess Mononoke? Honestly, in my opinion, it isn't. And like other Studio Ghibli movies I own, a lot of them I rented back in the day. So like the only ones I own now are like Castle in the Sky, Nausicaa, Tales Up on Poppy Hill, which is like teen summer romance movie set in like 1960s Japan, which it made it sound like it was going to be about the Olympics, but it really wasn't. And I watched Spirited Away and like Howl's Moving Castle. This movie, though I thought it was a good movie, right? It's just like there's not a lot happens in the movie. It's mostly like a drama, and it has this very children's book kind of feel to it. Like the story is basically, it's a fantasy world. Shit is going down. the balance is out of whack, yo, and bad things are happening, right? And the start of the movie is the king is like being told all this, and then he wanders off to be alone. And then what happens? His son rushes him out of nowhere and stabs him. And the beginning of the movie is like the main character who we're supposed to be like rooting for, right? Like murders his dad. Though we don't know for sure if he died. But because they never gone back to him, because like he was only stabbed like once, right? Like people survive being stabbed all the time, especially back then. But like we're to assume that he died, right? So Aaron, our main character, who's played by what's his name, Matt Levin. What else has this fucker done? He's a film producer. He's been in Tropic Thunder. Who was he in Tropic Thunder? He was in Joseph, King of Dreams. I never watched that. Blades of Glory, Spirit, Stallion the Cimarron, and Starship Troopers. Holy shit. Oh, I know who this guy is. I've seen him in a lot of this shit. If you look him up, like you'll recognize him for sure. Yeah. So, he runs off. He ends up in this country. To the I don't. They never said where it was, but like it's a country where slavery is legal, right? He meets up with this mage character named Sparrowhawk, who's the art mage. He's voiced by Timothy Dalton. And like they meet up. He's on the art mage is on a quest to find the source of the imbalance, right? And as the story progresses, they meet up with they encounter slavers. The head slaver is voiced by Cheech Marin from what's that fucking stoner comedy movie that he's famous for? Cheech and Chong. I totally forgot they named them after their real fucking names. Tommy Chong for the longest fucking time. Tommy Chong for the longest time I didn't know was half Asian. I feel like such a retard for not knowing that now, but it's like, holy fuck. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, some half Asians it's obvious, some it isn't. But yeah. So yeah, and then they meet up with like characters like Tenar, who's like an old friend of Sparrowhawk, who's voiced by Mariska Hargitay, who's from Law and Order SVU, and then she voice acted in some like True Crime New York or some shit. If you ever played that game, was it True Crime New York? Ah, fuck it, it's not important. And like there's a girl named what was her name? Teru, which her voice acting was fucking awful. She was voice acted by Blair Rossino, who's like she's like 26 years old right now. So it's like, how old was she when she like voice acted the character? Like, holy shit. Yeah, when was this voice acted in English? It doesn't say. So if it was like 2006 and she's 26 now, that was like 14 years ago. So she would have been 12? Holy fuck. She would have been 12 when this movie came out. She didn't sound 12 in the movie, but she was fucking terrible, dude. And what ends up happening is that the villain in the movie, Cobb, is the source of the imbalance. He wants to live forever, and he thinks that that the main character Aaron is the key to all that. So there's like epic battle at the end of Cobb's castle. One of the characters turns into a dragon. So yeah, like, I don't know. I was not a huge fan of the movie. I thought the animation was great. The scenery was beautiful. And I just, like, for some reason, the story just doesn't get me, right? Like, I don't know, dude. Like, this is my second time seeing it. I would say this movie does deserve a high rating. And I am somewhat interested in reading the books, because like I get the feel that the author, she knows some stuff about the esoteric arts, because like how magic works in this movie is that you have to know the secret names of things, which is a lot like in the book The Name of the Wind, which came out in 2007, a year after this movie came out. So I wonder if this fucker watched this movie and ripped it off. Which I was reading this book today because I'm gonna review it for Fantasy Month, and I'm like at like 237 pages. The this guy throughout the beginning of the book, there's like anti-Christian shit in the book, right? So I'm like, I just assumed the guy was a fedora tipper. At page 237, I even highlighted it, and I made a note at the top. The guy makes a "as above, so below" reference, which, if you guys don't know what that means, it's like a satanic reference. It's implying that heaven and hell is the same thing, pretty much. Hence the, as above, so below. And this fucking retard, hides it in what is it, a 4-page, a 3-page chapter. He makes this like little setup, just this romantic scene, just so he can fucking make a satanic reference. Which, if you know the rules of Satanism, if you're a Satanist, you have to subtly hint that you're a Satanist. And obviously, they usually do this through like clever hand signs. What those hand signs are, I fucking forget. But like, there's a dozen YouTube channels that like will point it out for you. But obviously here, it's a book, so the guy can't make a hand sign, right? So how he fucking lets people know he's secretly a Satanist is by saying that fucking line, which I suspected the guy knew some shit about the esoteric arts, and now I know for sure. And then I'll go into that more for that review. So like, the movie doesn't have a lot of action. The characters I thought were alright. I did find it like it has this storybook like moral story. Like, the whole thing is about like the main character is super scared of dying. That's why he did some of the things he did, and he learned a valuable lesson at the end that, like, living life without like fearing death is not living at all, or whatever the fuck message they make at the end of the movie. It's like, it's very childhood-esque, and he finally learns to accept the things that he's done, and he's going to go back to his homeland to face his punishment or whatever, right? Which is like, what do they do with king slayers when they're killed by their own sons? Like especially since he'll be like, I guess, like, if the king has a brother, he becomes king now. Unless there's another son, which they don't fucking let you know. I don't know. This movie, it gets an 8 out of 10, because I do think it's a good movie. It's very beautiful. There was 1 or 2 scenes where I thought they were using CGI, but I could be wrong. But it's a very great movie. Visually, obviously, it's a Studio Ghibli movie. Though I thought it was funny that like the writer said she would let them do it if Hayao Miyazaki directed the movie, and Hayao Miyazaki obviously didn't. They gave it to his son, which is, I don't know why she was so picky. Like, there was a shitty like Canadian like live action miniseries, so obviously she was just like playing it up, like she wanted Hayao Miyazaki. I doubt she fucking even heard of the guy before they called her to ask her if they can make this into an animated film. But whatever. See you next time on Fantasy Month. Tomorrow we're gonna review the Wizardry anime OVA, which is based off the legendary CRPG RPG video games. Alright, bye.